Nuclear weapons possess a destructive power so immense that a single warhead can obliterate an entire city in seconds. Today, the combined arsenal held by global powers could wipe out humanity multiple times over. This terrifying reality is often hidden behind statistics and political rhetoric, but its consequences are very real. The true scale of nuclear weapons is not just measured in explosions, it's measured in lives lost, futures erased, and a planet forever scarred. When it comes to nuclear weapons, there are no winners, only survivors. Unimaginable blast power. Nuclear weapons unleash energy on a scale that defies ordinary understanding. The bomb dropped on Hiroshima in 1945 released energy equivalent to about 15,000 tons of TNT. But modern thermonuclear weapons can be hundreds or even thousands of times more powerful, measured in megatons, millions of tons of TNT. To grasp this, consider that 1 megaton could level an entire city in seconds. The blast wave alone travels faster than the speed of sound, flattening buildings and incinerating everything in its path. The intense heat generated can reach tens of millions of degrees Celsius, hotter than the core of the sun, causing fires that rage uncontrollably for miles. This immense power is why nuclear weapons are categorized as weapons of mass destruction, capable of erasing entire urban areas instantly. Unlike conventional explosives, nuclear blasts release energy through nuclear fission or fusion, processes that unleash far more energy per unit mass. This is why even a single modern warhead can cause devastation on a scale unmatched by any other weapon in history. The sheer destructive force is not just about the blast but also the radiation and heat that follow, making survival near the epicenter nearly impossible. The scale of this power forces us to confront the terrifying reality of what nuclear war would mean for humanity and the planet. Immediate human casualties. The human toll of a nuclear explosion is staggering and immediate. Within seconds, the blast wave can cause fatal injuries to thousands, if not millions, depending on the population density of the target area. The intense heat causes severe burns and ignites fires that consume everything combustible. People caught near the epicenter suffer catastrophic injuries from flying debris, collapsing buildings, and the overwhelming force of the explosion. But the devastation doesn't stop there. Radiation released in the initial explosion causes acute radiation sickness, which can kill survivors within days or weeks. The combination of blast, heat, and radiation means that even those who survive the initial impact face life-threatening conditions. Emergency medical services would be overwhelmed, and infrastructure destruction would cripple rescue efforts. Historical data from Hiroshima and Nagasaki show that tens of thousands died immediately, with many more succumbing later due to radiation exposure. The scale of casualties in a modern nuclear strike would be far greater due to the increased yield of today's weapons and the density of urban populations. This immediate human cost is a grim reminder of why nuclear weapons remain the most feared instruments of war ever created. Long-term radiation effects. Radiation from a nuclear explosion is a silent killer that lingers long after the initial blast. When a nuclear weapon detonates, it releases a deadly mix of radioactive particles that contaminate the air, soil, and water. This fallout drifts with the wind, spreading toxic radiation far beyond the blast zone. Exposure to this radiation can cause severe health problems, including cancer, genetic mutations, and chronic illnesses that affect survivors for decades. The environment suffers too. Plants, animals, and entire ecosystems can be devastated, with some areas becoming uninhabitable for generations. The infamous Chernobyl disaster, though not a nuclear weapon, offers a glimpse into the lasting damage radiation can cause. Exclusion zones remain today, and wildlife has adapted in eerie ways to the contaminated landscape. In the aftermath of a nuclear strike, survivors face not only physical wounds, but also the psychological burden of living in a poisoned world. Decontamination is a massive challenge, and the invisible nature of radiation makes it an insidious threat. This long-term impact underscores why nuclear weapons are not just a momentary disaster but a catastrophe with consequences that ripple through time and space, affecting countless lives and the planet itself. Global climatic impact. The detonation of multiple nuclear weapons could trigger a global catastrophe far beyond the immediate destruction. Scientists warn of a phenomenon called nuclear winter, where the massive fires ignited by nuclear blasts send soot and smoke high into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight from reaching Earth's surface. This dramatic drop in temperature could last for months or even years, devastating agriculture worldwide. Crops would fail, leading to widespread famine and threatening the survival of billions. The disruption of weather patterns would cause droughts in some regions and floods in others, creating a domino effect of environmental chaos. This isn't just theory. Computer models and historical data from volcanic eruptions support the possibility of such a climate disaster. The global impact of nuclear war extends far beyond the targeted cities, affecting even those countries not directly involved. The idea that nuclear weapons could trigger a planetary crisis adds a terrifying dimension to their destructive power, reminding us that their use would be catastrophic not just locally but for all life on Earth. Destruction of infrastructure. Nuclear weapons don't just kill people, they erase entire cities from the map. The blast wave generated by a nuclear explosion is so powerful that it can demolish skyscrapers, bridges, roads, and critical infrastructure within seconds. Power plants, hospitals, communication networks, and transportation systems are instantly wiped out, leaving survivors isolated and helpless. The heat from the explosion ignites fires that merge into massive firestorms, consuming everything flammable and making rescue efforts nearly impossible. Without roads or communication, emergency services cannot reach those in need, and the chaos spirals out of control. The destruction extends underground as well, damaging water and sewage systems, leading to contamination and disease outbreaks. In modern cities, where infrastructure is densely packed and interconnected, the ripple effects of such devastation would cripple entire regions economically and socially. This level of destruction means that rebuilding would take decades if it's even possible. The obliteration of infrastructure highlights the fact that nuclear war is not just about immediate loss of life. It's about annihilating the very foundations that support human civilization. Psychological and societal trauma. The aftermath of a nuclear explosion goes beyond physical devastation. It shatters the human psyche and society itself. Survivors face unimaginable trauma from losing loved ones, homes, and communities in an instant. The psychological scars, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, can persist for generations. Entire populations may be displaced, forced to live as refugees in unfamiliar and often hostile environments. Social structures collapse as governments struggle to maintain order amid chaos, leading to lawlessness and further suffering. The fear of radiation sickness and the invisible threat of contamination add layers of anxiety that permeate daily life. Children growing up in these conditions inherit a world marked by loss and uncertainty. Historical accounts from Hiroshima and Nagasaki survivors reveal how communities struggled to rebuild, not just physically but emotionally, grappling with grief and stigma. This societal trauma underscores that nuclear weapons don't just destroy cities, they fracture the very fabric of human connection and resilience, leaving wounds that no amount of reconstruction can fully heal. Current global nuclear arsenal. So the world today holds over 12,000 nuclear weapons, enough to destroy humanity many times over. Despite decades of disarmament talks, major powers like the United States, Russia, China, and others maintain vast arsenals, and each warhead is capable of unleashing catastrophic destruction. These weapons, are not relics of the past. They're active, ready to be deployed within minutes. The existence of such stockpiles means the threat of nuclear conflict remains a chilling reality. Even a limited nuclear exchange could trigger devastating consequences far beyond the battlefield, affecting millions of innocent lives. Countries continue to modernize their nuclear forces, investing billions in new delivery systems and warheads, which really signals that nuclear weapons remain central to global military strategy. This precarious balance of power is often described as deterrence, but it also carries the risk of accidental launches or miscalculations that could spiral into full-scale war. The sheer scale and readiness of these arsenals force us to confront the uncomfortable truth. The potential for nuclear catastrophe is not a distant threat, but an ongoing danger. Understanding the true scale of today's nuclear weapons stockpiles is essential to appreciating the urgent need for global cooperation and disarmament efforts to prevent a disaster that could end civilization as we know it. Escalation risk and accidental war. The terrifying speed at which nuclear decisions must be made creates a constant, lurking danger of accidental war. Nuclear-armed nations often operate on launch-on-warning policies, which means that a perceived threat, even a false alarm from a malfunctioning sensor, could trigger a full-scale retaliation in just minutes. Throughout history, there have been numerous documented near-misses technical glitches, misinterpreted radar signals, or, believe it or not, even a flock of geese mistaken for incoming missiles, all of which brought the world frighteningly close to nuclear catastrophe. In these split-second scenarios, human judgment is absolutely paramount, but under such immense pressure, errors are not just possible, they're actually probable. A localized conflict between non-nuclear states could easily draw in nuclear powers, escalating rapidly beyond conventional warfare. Once that nuclear threshold is crossed, the chain of events becomes almost irreversible, as each side reacts to the other's actions, leading to a tit-for-tat exchange with unimaginable global consequences. The very nature of nuclear deterrence, which is designed to prevent war through mutual assured destruction, simultaneously carries the inherent risk of an unintended global holocaust, sparked by miscalculation, miscommunication, or, honestly, just a simple technical glitch. The threat of nuclear proliferation. The spread of nuclear weapons to more countries represents, without a doubt, one of the greatest dangers facing humanity today. While a handful of established nuclear powers have maintained their arsenals for decades, the desire for these ultimate weapons of deterrence is, well, tempting for other nations seeking regional dominance or security guarantees. As more countries acquire nuclear capabilities, the global risk of their use escalates dramatically. Each new nuclear state introduces new geopolitical rivalries, new potential flashpoints, and new decision-makers who might not, adhere to the same strategic doctrines or safety protocols as the established nuclear powers. Furthermore, the more widely nuclear technology and materials are dispersed, the greater the chance that they could fall into the hands of non-state actors or terrorist organizations who might not be deterred by the threat of retaliation. The nuclear taboo, that global norm against using nuclear weapons, becomes increasingly fragile with each new member of the nuclear club. This proliferation not only increases the likelihood of a nuclear attack but also heightens regional instability, forcing neighboring states to consider developing their own deterrence and creating a dangerous escalating arms race with no end in sight. Economic costs of maintaining arsenals. Maintaining and modernizing nuclear weapon stockpiles diverts staggering sums of money that could otherwise address pressing global challenges. Each year, nuclear-armed nations collectively spend tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars on their nuclear programs, covering research, development, production of new warheads, maintenance of existing arsenals, and the infrastructure to support them. These are not just one-time expenses, but continuous multi-decade commitments that lock in immense financial outlays. Just consider what this colossal investment could achieve if it were redirected, alleviating extreme poverty, funding universal healthcare or education, combating climate change, or investing in sustainable energy solutions. Instead, these vast resources are poured into weapons designed never to be used, yet constantly requiring upgrades and oversight. The opportunity cost is immense. Every dollar spent on a nuclear missile is a dollar not spent on a vaccine, a school, or a clean energy project. This hidden economic burden of nuclear weapons is often overlooked, yet it represents a significant drain on national budgets and a missed opportunity for human development and global well-being. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the devastating true scale of nuclear weapons here on InnoVision Tech. If you found this eye-opening, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon so you never miss our latest tech insights and thought-provoking content. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and join the conversation. Together, let's explore how technology shapes our world and the future. Stay curious, stay informed, and see you in the next video.